Good morning, everyone. It's Saturday, which means it's time for yet another salty Saturday morning. I am your host, Mr. Kadish, and we got a lot to talk about today. But before we get into that, I wanted to introduce my fantastic panel of nerds, starting with Dutch Butters, the man, the myth, the legend. How you doing, Mr. Butters?
Oh, man. I'm here. Still not quite awake, going through my coffee, but I'll be okay here in a few minutes. How you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm getting high off of all the paint fumes that are in the studio right now. Speaking of getting high, we got Brian from the Popcast.
Hey, what's up, man? How you doing?
He's high on life. How you doing, Brian?
Oh, not bad, my friend. Not bad. Great to be here. Glad to hang out with Tom and my new friend Gabe.
Hello.
Yep. Dutch, was there something you were going to say before I introduce Brian?
No, I was just saying it was nice of Alex to go in there and completely repair the massive glory hole that was put in our wall last night.
What a man! What a man's man!
Yeah, we're going to talk about that in a little bit. Yeah. I also want to welcome my brother from another mother, Tom from Midnight's Edge, to the show. As always, we were missing him last week. How you doing, Tom?
I wasn't here last week.
I know. I said we were missing you last week.
Why didn't you come find me?
Well, you're just too important for us, Tom. You got your own stuff going on. Okay. Now, I want to throw this to our special guest on the live stream today. But before I throw it to him, Gabe, we love having you on here. You are the Lord and Savior of all things comics. And therefore, we have a special intro just for you.
Oh, no.
And here it is. Gabe.
Sit on Gabe. It's close. It's close.
Yes.
Yeah, the first time I read Dune, I picked up on all the Middle Eastern thing instantly.
What is going on?
Yeah.
Yes, but Gabe Eltaeb, thank you for being here today. You just got back from Comic-Con. You want to give us an update on everything that happened out there with you guys?
Comic-Con was amazing. If you can make it out to the San Diego Comic-Con, you always should. It is the Comic-Con of Comic-Cons, the biggest one in the world. It's the most fun. I'm very biased. I live 9 miles from the convention center. I live here in America's finest city. So, we're having a heat wave right now in mid-August. It's 80 degrees today, guys. So we are, don't freak out. We're going to cope with it here in San Diego. We're getting up to 80 today. So, but no, Comic-Con's awesome. I have my kickoff party. We did it 7 years in a row before the lockdown. And we did it again this year. We started up with a lot of my friends from YouTube, like Nerdrotic and the Film Threat guys and Side Scroller guys and all that. It was really fun. My friend owns a bunch of bars and restaurant in town, and he lets me use one of them. It's right by the convention center, and we put tickets on Eventbrite, and they were gone in like 2 days. So we sold that place out. It was banging. It was awesome. It was my 46th birthday that night. My birthday's July 24th.
Oh, happy birthday.
Thank you. And so it's a great way to start Comic-Con. Meet and greet with fans. It was a wonderful night. They have amazing pizza there. And then the convention itself was just so much fun, having my friends come fly into town and hang out. And Craig did his Side Scroller show live from that bar 2 mornings in a row. I did it on Friday of the con. And just the convention booth, it's so much fun to meet people, selling T-shirts and comic books and shaking hands. And it's funny, now that I'm a publisher, I meet people and they come up to me and they're asking for work and they're asking to do deals. And I've got some deals cooking from Comic-Con that are fantastic. But it is fun to talk to young artists that remind me of myself when I was 20, 21, and they come up to me and show me their portfolio and they're currently in art school. And I just explain to them the process of success like that and how they just need to stick with it. And, it's interesting to be on that side of the table now. So I love it. And you guys can get all the awesome stuff I have at bigmancomics.com. We have amazing t-shirts. We still have Dean Cain All-American Lawman Volume 1 in stock. We have limited copies of that. And I want to ask the panel here, do you guys think that I should put the autographed editions back up? Because I took them down.
Yes, because I need one.
Selling out of them. But because what I did, people ordered the autograph edition. It costs more. And then I held back some in reserve in case people's book get lost in the mail or destroyed and they need replacement. There's only been a few of those, thankfully, with thousands of orders. But now that it's been since April that I got out all the orders, I feel safe putting my reserves up online. You think I should put the autographed ones back up? I don't know.
Yeah,
Save
do
one
it
for me.
Okay. But that was
definitely.
one of the covers that was shown there on my screen. So.
I don't care about everybody else. Just save one for me.
Well, I would hate for someone to say, "Oh, I never got my autograph edition," then I sell out of them. But it's been since April. I feel safe now. So we do have all these actually in stock, very limited autograph editions, just a few left of each. So, but yeah, you can get that. So go to bigmancomics.com and check that out. And volume 2 of that is underway of Dean Cato, American Lawman. So,
I think next year we have to go to this party, Matt. We need
You
to go
got
to
to.
San Diego and come to at least the pre-party on the night
You got
before.
it's fun.
Yeah.
It's similar to what Nerdrotic does out in Vegas,
Yeah.
where I met you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. It's nice. It's nice being home centered where all the action is. Right.
Oh yeah.
It's like we're in Vegas. Everybody comes to us. So
Right.
I never think about going out somewhere else.
No,
thought you
I love
guys
to
were
say it in
Kamala
Comic Con. I
Central
always
now.
say it's a home game for me. You know.
Yeah.
Well, Gabe, we'll be there next year for your birthday, and you don't look a day over 45 years old. So
I am
it's good
46.
to see you. Yes.
All
indeed.
right.
All right, real quick, guys. So we got a lot of action happening in the chat that I want to get to, but before we get to that, got to give a big shout out to Brian G, who is our top contributor and our top super chatter, who dropped a $500 super chat.
Whoa.
Legendary stuff.
Yeah.
And he did it specifically to beat out our previous top superstar, Scotty Dub, who dropped a $400 super chat. So it just came in there at the last minute and usurped Scotty Dub's throne. We appreciate both those guys. And of course, William Forbus bringing up the third place spot for $120 super chat.
These guys have such a competition going. It's really cool. You know, hey, Brian G, I heard Scotty Dub was talking trash about your mom. You probably need to,
Yeah, I heard that too.
you
heard
probably
that
need to
too.
like show them what's up.
Yeah, it'd be like, what's up, man? Speaking about what's up, we got Mexican Iron Man, who is one of our most consistent super chatters. He always comes on and drops some money before he pieces out to go do survival training because he's preparing for the oncoming Civil War. And of course, we also have our top gifters, the queen of gifted memberships, Jillian N, WD, Sam Schwager, Major Chai Chai, and Eric Winberg, although we're probably going to have to add Bob Dorsey to that list coming soon. And I'll tell you guys why in a minute. But first, I want to give a big shout out to Mephisto Movies Reviews. And keep in mind, guys, that at the end of this live stream, we're going to be automatically redirecting you over to the Real McCoy podcast, which Mephisto hosts. And he's always got some fun stuff going on over there. And Tom Connors is usually guesting over there as well.
I'll be there
So
today, actually.
nice. What are you guys talking about over there?
Super Mario Brothers.
Oh, the original. Okay, nice. But Mephisto was the first one in chat to drop 15 whatever Israeli money is. I don't know what they use over there. But he says, I don't have much, but I hope this helps recoup financial losses. You guys don't deserve what happened to you. Keep rocking. Yes, we appreciate that, Mephisto.
Mm-hmm.
Very stand-up guy. I got to meet him and his family when they were out here visiting in Vegas not too long ago. Very, very good people, those guys. Then we got Eric Winberg for 1 gifted Salty Nerd podcast membership. Thank you so much, Eric. And Major Chai Chai has returned. He has gifted 10 Salty Nerd podcast memberships.
Wow.
Thank you, Major Chai Chai. That is very generous of you. And then we got You Fuck That for 199.
Okay.
He says, I fully throated this channel. DTJ. Yes. And guys,
Huge.
our good salty superstar friend, the Astro Nerd Boy, is back in style, hitting us with 100 super chats.
Woo! Coming on with the
Hundo. Hope they
Hundo.
catch the
guys.
smegging thieves. I think you need to keep a hungry lion on the studio now. Well, that's Dutch Butter's job. He needs to be
Yeah.
the hungry lion.
He's
in
the
the
hungry
studio.
lion.
I'll just go down there and camp out with my shotgun. That's about all I can do. I hate the way you
Right.
say. I hate the way you say hundo.
Hundo.
It makes me cringe. Just the hairs on the back of my neck stand up.
That's why I say it.
It's so weird.
All I can think about is that episode of Married with Children when
100.
Al's all upset because Hondo's on and he doesn't get to watch it. Yeah.
What is going on in our chat? My God, you guys are so generous today with the gifts. It's
yeah,
insane.
These guys are fantastic. We got
I'll show my tits, I guess.
No, don't. They'll stop if you do that.
Oh,
I'll get refunds.
I was gonna do it too, but
so
Wait.
We
Here's the
only
angle.
listen.
Here's
We
the angle.
only get,
You'll show the chest unless they send super chats.
that's
There
That
you
is
go.
why you are a businessman, sir.
Yes.
we only
Yeah,
get
that
we
right
only
there.
get naked on Culture Casino's channel. That's it.
Yeah.
That's the only one. So
exactly. And guys, our salty superstar Bob Dorsey comes in and drops 20 Salty Nerd podcast gifted memberships. Epic. Thank you so much, Bob. You've always been a superstar here on Saturday mornings. Really appreciate you. And not to be outdone, the queen of gifted memberships, Jillian N, comes in and drops 10 Salty Nerd Podcast gifted memberships, followed by Jim Watari, who gifted 20 Salty Nerd Podcast memberships. So, man, we're just dropping the memberships left and right today. Thank you so much, guys. Yeah.
That's insane.
And then we got Kocho Dragon member chat for 9 months. Been focused on Disney's creative bankruptcy, especially Mufasa, since they're reimagining the story again. But I hope my post can help get some justice. Thank you, Kocho Dragon. Yes, for all of you guys who shared the video of our break-in on X and Twitter or whatever you want to call it. Really appreciate you guys. There's also a version up on YouTube if you guys want to share that. It is linked in the chat if you haven't seen it yet. And member chat from Major Chai Chai, who's been a member for 7 months. I'm glad to be back. I missed you guys, but I had fun at the San Diego Comic-Con.
Okay.
Good to have you back, Major Chai Chai. I missed you too. All right, guys. So we have a lot to talk about today, but the first thing that I want to talk about is the fact that we were robbed.
No.
Oh, you're going to talk about this again. Okay.
Oh, no.
Yes. We're going to mention it again just because I think people... We're here. Oh, before we get going, Odin's here.
Howdy.
Howdy.
As someone who has lost a shelf, I feel for you guys. But no, in all seriousness, though, it's just so ridiculous that happened to y'all. But also at the same time, I think that the memes going around of being robbed by the Kool-Aid guy.
Yeah, it's funny.
Who goes through a wall? Other than the Kool-Aid man, who goes through a wall? That's insane.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So guys, we have this video up on YouTube that if you guys want to go check it out, we took all the security footage we got from that night, edited together in a supercut to kind of like give you guys a rundown of like what actually happened. These are the two douchebags who robbed us. This is them at 12:40 a.m. on Wednesday morning, basically scouting out the back door of our building, and they're targeting our office specifically here in this video. And then later on, they actually break through the wall in our studio. This is our studio camera. And I was watching this live as it happened. I woke up early in the morning. I had all these alerts on my phone. I started going through these security cameras live feed and saw them sawing through the wall. And so I immediately called 911.
You know what would be awesome is if you had a microphone and a speaker in that room.
Oh, yes.
Well, we did. The camera that you're seeing the footage from here has a speaker that you can basically, if you talk into your phone as you're looking at the footage through the app,
I see you stealing my
project that.
Okay, now here's what you need to do.
Hello, Dave.
You need to get the Saw little guy on a bicycle. And so that if anyone does that, you just hit the go button, and then it just starts bicycling towards it, saying, "Would you like to play a game?"
Yeah,
I think you should push play at this part, Matt, just so they can see how they abuse these monitors that are coming up.
Yeah, I was a little bit busy dialing 911 at this point, but once the alarm started going off, these guys kind of panicked.
This guy, yoink.
What idiots.
Yeah, this guy.
They're going to get so much out of those on the black market.
Fully
for
operational.
Yeah, they basically spent 4 hours of hard work and labor to get maybe like $250 each.
They're not even going to get that, dude.
Nobody's going to buy that crap. It's hotter than hot.
Well, the monitors, they didn't get the power cords. They didn't get the HDMI cables. It's
what I
like
mean.
they're pretty much
power
useless.
cords, that's the big
And all
deal.
that stuff has serial numbers and stuff on it too. So like, good luck with that.
All that work just to...
Yeah.
It's just like, you can't make stupid. Seriously, it's just it's insane to me, and I hope that they obviously get fined to hell, and
More than fined. I hope.
Absolutely, I hope they go to jail. They should absolutely go to jail.
That's a lot
Do you
of damage.
feel like they knew you had merchandise because they
fine.
were nearby and they saw into your studio, or this is someone that watches your streams and knew you had merchandise?
No, you can't see into our studio at all.
Well, so we have a sign on our front door that says, Las Vegas Podcaster Studios on it. And when vagrants basically make their way through the lot here and they see that sign, they're like, oh, there must be stuff in there that's valuable that we can steal.
Have you ever thought about just putting up a different sign that's like International Donut, whatever? Because when I won't even name it, but I've been to some very fancy podcast stuff. and it's not on the building's marquee at all. They just say, Chinese shipping consortium, and then you actually, it's actually this podcast.
I think that's
nice. And when I worked for DC Comics, Wildstorm was at 888 Prospect Street, but you would never know it because it wasn't anywhere on the building. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, we're going to be taking our sign down. These guys were basically just they saw us as a target of opportunity. They saw that the office next door to us was empty, and so they're like, "Oh, we can just break in through the wall," because our studio is actually like really well defended, for lack of a better term. Like we've got security alarms, we got sensors, we got locks, we got the whole kit and caboodle over here. So the only way that they could get in here was by breaking in through the wall.
Now you need to invest in getting giant like steel plates or whatever, just to like. That's how insane that is. Like again, the fact that y'all have all these amazing defenses and then they have to go through the freaking wall, and then they do all that just to take 2 monitors. How much was it again?
It was 2 monitors, a spare Rodecaster Pro, and all of our headphones.
And
the headphones. It's like, what?
And they were the cheap ass headphones too.
Well, yeah, I was going to say that might be the only thing they get anything out of, and unless they're really good ones, then yeah, they're not.
These might be the smartest dumb guys I've ever seen. Like seriously,
I know, right?
To think about going through the wall. But
what they did was really creative and impressive. What they were able to pull off, but like. They broke our 65-inch TV when they broke through the wall, and that would have been their biggest get. Yeah. But the thing is like they could have gone out the front door instead of having to crawl back through like the hole that they made, and they could have brought more stuff with them.
Oh yeah.
but the kicker to me is the fact that the guy stopped and went back to the fridge and got himself a Coke. We were like, you could have gotten an energy drink at least. Like, it was 4:30 in the morning.
No, can I ask, was it a regular Coke or a Mexican Coke?
It was a Coke Zero.
Oh.
Ooh, fancy.
Quite good.
If it was a Diet
so
Coke.
then they're just a bunch of,
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes,
but anyway, they thought they were Danny Ocean, but then they realized that they weren't that good.
Not exactly the brightest bulbs in the in the light fixture, but it was more annoying than anything. Like the first time we got broken into, it felt very violating because we weren't technically open yet. We had just hosted the Nerdrotic meetup guys here at the studio. We didn't have any insurance, and the guy who broke in wiped us out. Like he got like over $10,000 worth of our equipment.
Is that when Nerdrotic got all that new studio equipment?
Yep, that's what.
Yeah, that's what.
Yep.
Gary's studio looks really good right now.
Weird.
Yeah, but
sure there's zero correlation with that whatsoever.
Nothing. Yeah.
I'm looking at Ryan Kennel.
Yeah, but weren't you saying like something like the first time it happened, wasn't it a semi-inside job and or clearly people knew what they were after? This time, like you said, it just probably a couple of crackheads walking down the street, I bet.
According to the police, it wasn't an inside job. They investigated the suspect that we gave them and said that he had nothing to do with it. But of course, that's coming from the police. So the Las Vegas Metro Police, I know Vader might disagree with me on this, but like I don't find their service of the community to be up to my standards. They're very bad at communicating. They're very bad at investigating. And it's just like, well, what else are you going to do?
A friend of mine is a Los Angeles police detective. I'll ask him what he thinks. I'm not even kidding.
Yeah, I mean, like it'd be great if our detective had bothered to actually reach out and contact us, after this happened. But, radio silence from everyone. It's just very frustrating because like we did everything right? We got insurance, we got security measures. There was no way we could have anticipated that somebody would break in through a freaking wall, And now we're thinking about like ways in which like can we put chicken wire inside like the drywall? Like how do we
just put plywood up on the wall? Like instead of drywall, use plywood. They're not gonna be able to break through.
Get like some fancy heating system that uses like molten hot lava, and just like if someone's stupid enough to get through,
Minecraft it. If I were a police detective, my ringtone would be the from Law and Order. You know what I mean? There you go.
That's the one.
Yeah, for real though, if you have this problem anywhere out there, just use plywood instead of drywall, and most criminals can't get through that. You need saws and stuff.
Yeah, sure. Somebody sent us a video of these security cameras that shoot paintballs. So like,
that's what I'm saying. Laser beams.
Yeah, sharks with freaking lasers on their head.
Sharks with freaking laser beams on their head.
Aaron Charman in the chat says they will tunnel in next time.
Oh, yeah.
No, next time they're going to try to come through the roof. That's what they're going to try to do.
It's like these guys came out of the 1940s or something like that. It's like,
Yeah,
see
see,
the
we're
guy.
gonna make
we're gonna bust through the walls. Yeah.
I'm
Some
telling you.
tweaker on a harness.
And listen, you guys are giving these guys way too much credit. They're just a couple crackheads.
That's what I said. That's what I just said.
smart dumb guys or
Yeah.
dumb smart guys,
dumb
whatever, whichever you want.
They're motivated. They took 4 hours to bust through the wall because they really, really wanted that crack. And then when they got in there and started hearing the alarms, they're like, "Shh, it's not worth it."
I'll have a Coke.
The funny thing
Let's
is
get a Coke
that
Zero.
they actually went down to the Home Depot down here to buy tools to break in, and they left one of their brand new tools behind.
Wow,
So we got-
there you go.
gotta
So
do
then the
crowbar.
cops shouldn't have too much of a problem finding them, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
This
Yeah,
is
I'm not
come
even a
on.
detective, but I've seen
I'm
enough
saying.
shows.
I'm sorry. They bought a tool at a local Home Depot and left it behind?
Yep.
How do you not find the person that bought that at the Home Depot that is covered in cameras with receipts?
Well, they didn't buy it at 3 a.m. What they did was they bought it beforehand and brought the new tool with them, and then just started. And it was a nice tool, and I was like, wow, like that must have been like at least $30. So now your take home is even less.
So you go to Home Depot, you go, how many people bought bolt cutters or whatever it is today? Oh, 2 people? All right. Then what were those 2 people? Oh, cool. Those are the 2 suspects.
Wait, they
One
bought
guy is an
masks too?
electrician from Henderson. It's not him. That's all I'm saying.
This is more likely what happened right there.
Yeah, probably. But everyone who saw our post on Twitter and YouTube, they've been reaching out to us and letting us know, like, hey, is there a way that we can donate money to you guys, help you out? And we really appreciate all that stuff. Right now,
That's not what I
actually,
said. I said, don't ask me for crap because I'm
yes,
broke.
yes, you called me up specifically and said, don't ask me for crap.
Yeah, that's what I said. I said, don't ask me for nothing.
But
No, I'm kidding, of course.
we have insurance now, so we're going through the insurance agency to kind of recoup what we lost. Luckily, all the expensive stuff that was in the studio wasn't really touched. They tried to get some of the mics, but they couldn't figure out how to undo them in time. So it could have been much worse than it actually ended up being. But we want to thank everyone who reached out and offered to help us out financially on this. It really means a lot to us. And speaking of meaning a lot, we got a couple of super chats here real quick before we get into our stories. Mexican Iron Man for $5. Snow White trailer is released. I am excited so that Disney can have a box office win and shove it to all of us Harkist phobes.
Racist phobes. It's racist.
Oh, racist phobes.
Racist.
Disney,
Racist.
Weird.
Disney's going to show us. Yes, indeed. By the way, guys, we're testing out a new feature that YouTube is doing a test run with, which is Super Chat goals. And so we're trying to get 10 $5 Super Chats throughout the course of the live stream in order to hit that goal. And if we do, we're going to drink a Coke on stream. So
That's really cool, man. I'm going to have a drink of my Coke.
Let me grab my
Fantastic.
Mexican Coke.
yes,
Yeah.
indeed. And we got Shorty Short, who just became a YouTube member. Thank you so much for joining, Shorty. Always good to see you here. And then Kalichi Oki gifted 5 Salty Nerd Podcast memberships. Thank you so much, Kalichi. I never know if I'm pronouncing your name correctly, but I hope I am.
I think it's Kaliki Oki.
Kaliki Oki?
I
Kaliki
hear
Oki.
Culture say it all the time.
Gotcha.
Kalikioki.
Kaliki Oki.
Kaliki Oki.
Don't trust anything Culture says. He calls it Spider-Man.
No, Kalikioki, it means white sugar.
And then Major Chai Chai for $5 for the podcast soda fund. Thank you so much, Major
Yeah,
Chai
we'll get
Chai.
that Coke Zero back.
Yeah, we'll get that Coke Zero back indeed.
Sponsored
Shorty
by
Short.
Coke Zero.
Yep. Shorty Short for $2. I hope the guy is a Pepsi guy. That would have been the ultimate
double
revenge.
insult, right?
Yeah. And he's like,
I
what
remember,
the fuck is this Coke Zero bullshit?
The twin brothers, stand-up comedians, the Sklar brothers. I don't remember the bit, but they had some bit where Pepsi should change their slogan to "No, but we have Pepsi." Like, I don't remember the joke, but
no
that was
Pepsi
like the
Coke.
punchline.
And then Marks 47, a member for 12 months, year-long membership. Thank you, Marks. High voltage chicken wire that releases lava. Now that's an
Yes.
idea.
There you go.
What
And
could, go
laser
wrong?
beams.
What could go wrong?
Yeah, I'm worried that the lava might harm some of the equipment, but we'll see if we can dig a moat.
Hear
I
me out
I
on the
play
laser beam.
Minecraft. Just put stone around it, and you'll be fine.
They don't even have to do anything. As long as they're there, they will think they do something.
And then we got
Laser beams.
Shorty Short for $10 for the insurance deductible. So sorry to hear about the break-in. Thank you, Shorty. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Laura.
And Aaron Charman for £2 for the Lost Coke Zero. Yeah, we need to restock the fridge. We're almost out of energy drinks, actually.
That's where the real
Ironically
concern
enough.
You
should
can
be.
tell he's not from the U.S. That ain't enough, brother. You got to add another $1.50 to that.
Yeah, this is
We're in
Bidenomics.
Biden
over
section.
here.
Yeah,
Come on,
Bidenomics.
Come on.
Yeah,
man.
like, no, $2. Like, where'd you come from? 2002?
Right.
Speaking of where you come from, let's talk a little bit about the new Skeleton Crew trailer that dropped at the Disney convention yesterday. Guys, imagine taking Goonies and Space Camp and merging them together and throwing a Jedi into the mix. That is what we're seeing for the Skeleton Crew trailer. We've got a very diverse cast of young people in the Star Wars universe. Apparently, this takes place 5 years after the events of Return of the Jedi. There's a lot of stuff going on here. Like we got the suburbs of Star Wars. We're going to be seeing that.
The suburbs. I love it.
Yeah, apparently there's a video game where you can play a Jedi. Do you guys remember how people were like, oh, the Jedi are a myth. We don't know anything about them. They're so mysterious. But apparently there's a EA in the future is putting out video games on their tablets.
Hey,
It's just like an Ender's Game ripoff.
is that an iPad that kid's got?
I was
Yep,
not told there would be
that's an
homework.
iPad.
I did not
Do you
watch
think
this.
Sweet Baby Incorporated worked on that Jedi game in this fictitious
Yes.
universe and woke it up?
Yes. And you
Very-
know what's
very
funny is
likely.
that Max Rebo's living up to his rock and roll status, got an illegitimate kid.
There you go.
Yep. So basically, the story is that there's this group of kids, an alien, a boy, and two young girls that find a spaceship in some abandoned Jedi temple. That spaceship then takes them on a wild ride where they don't know where they're at and they have to get back home. And it's basically, Goonies meets Space Camp
They find
/
They find Pirate One-Eyed Willie's treasure, save the day.
Yeah,
Isn't
there's
there
actually
The Fratellis are in this?
Yes.
that'd be funny. Yeah, there's actually a part here. Yeah, so here's One-Eyed Willie. Right. And then the big reveal at the end is the only white guy in this movie. TV show. He appears and he's like, "Oh, I'm Jude Law. I'll be your Jedi."
He doesn't even say
today.
anything. He's just like, I'm Jude Law.
Yeah.
Hey, what's up? I'm Jude Law.
He's like, "Welcome. I'll be your Jedi today." But I wanted to get your guys' reaction to this because this was actually announced a long time ago, way before the Acolyte came out, and not a lot has been said about this other than the fact that it was basically Goonies in the Star Wars universe. It's very similar to Stargate universe's premise as well, where you have like a group of people on a spaceship that they don't control, taking them on adventures throughout the galaxy. But I find it odd that basically, like, this kid knows all about Jedi Temple, all this other stuff. But even 5 years, like the Mandalorian didn't know what a Jedi was, right? Like in the Mandalorian, Din
He's in the
Djarin.
outer rim. He's in the outer rim. They don't have communications out there.
Okay, all right.
This planet's clearly,
Mr. Butters, what is your take on this trailer?
Honestly, I'm pretty ambivalent to it. I'm really apathetic towards Star Wars anymore, and I just really have a hard time carrying or getting into any of it. This is a kid show. It's a, like we've all said, it's Goonies in space. It's and I think it's how long ago did they film this? Like 3-4 years ago. If they have a season 2, these kids are all going to be 27 years old by the time they get around to filming that thing. So they're going to have that problem to deal with. Look, it's like I said, it's a kid show with Jedis in it and robots and set in the Disney Star Wars universe. So there's going to be some kind of Disney Channel audience out there for it, but it's not going to be a big one. But, like I said, I'll probably have to watch it so we can talk about it on here. Thank you, Matt, ahead of time for that. And
You're welcome.
otherwise, I wouldn't have any interest in this at all. I'm not the right demographic for it, and it's just more probably what is Disney Star Wars nonsense.
Well, you know who is the right demographic for this is Brian from the Popcast,
Hey!
who actually really liked this trailer.
Yeah, I actually did. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I know it's not the popular.
Brian, you can have any
consensus,
opinion you want, man. It's okay.
And I'm fairly apathetic to Star Wars. Like, I don't care at all. But this is the first time I've watched something from Star Wars where I was like, oh, interesting. Yeah. So I'm sort of looking forward to checking it out. I mean, like, I'm not losing sleep over it, and I don't care if it doesn't happen. But this is the first trailer that I have seen from Star Wars since The Force Awakens where I was actually interested. I'm sorry, I know everyone's getting mad at me, but it looks sort of cool. I'm not gonna lie, and I'm a massive Goonies fan, and I like Jude Law. So I'll give it a look-see.
Right on. Well, I want to hear Gabe's take on this one. Gabe, what do you think of the Skeleton Crew?
I disagree with you, Dutch and Kaddish, and I sort of disagree with Brian that he didn't go far enough. This looks outstanding on face value. If I haven't seen anything woke, this is a home run. This is Stranger Things for Disney if they do it right. Now, if they go woke, then it's a piece of shit. But if they just do Stranger Things in space, Goonies in space, this is a home run. This is the first thing to be excited about since The Force Awakens, since before we all saw the first prequel when we were excited in 99. This looks outstanding. It looks amazing. I'm
so glad there's someone saying here, Gabe. Can you be here more often?
I hate Disney. I hate Disney Star Wars. You have to understand, Star Wars is close to all of us. Mm-hmm. I'm a comic book artist and writer. The first things I drew when I was 3 were Star Wars space battles. It inspired me. Yeah. I worked on 24 issues of the Star Wars comic at Dark Horse, the best-selling Brian Wood, Carlos D'Anda, Alex Ross, and myself. That sold over 1 million copies first issue. Star Wars is part of me, dude. The blue and white X-Wing at Disneyland and Disney World, I made up that color scheme. So I've made up Star Wars that exists in the real world because X-Wings were always the orange and the white. I made that up, the blue X-Wings. I made that up in the first issue of the new Star Wars comic from.
That's rad.
I love Star Wars. I love Goonies. This is a home run. If it's not woke, cross every single digit on your body because they could really screw this up. But if it's Stranger Things, then it's a home run. I think it could.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. Well, Odin, what's your take on this?
The immediate thing when I'm walking through the trailer that I noticed is how poorly Disney has become in creating stories, because the entire time that the trailer was going through, all I could think of was, why should I care about any of these people? Why should I care about anything that's happening on screen? And how hard is it going to be for me to actually be able to watch this when I know, and especially with younger actors, is going to be that much more obvious, that the vast majority of the things that we're seeing are just complete CGI, blue screen, green screen, the volume stuff, right? I mean, it's one thing when you have adults that are acting against it. When you have kids acting against it, you're just adding that extra level of difficulty that especially younger actors don't really have the ability to necessarily grasp. So all I see is just an over CGI'd, over green screen, blue screen, volumed production, once again, coming from Disney, that also lacks any sense of stakes or any sense of why anyone should even care about it going on. Like, yeah, it's Goonies in Star Wars, but it's like, I'm sorry, but is that all they have? Like, could they not be trying to tell a much, I guess, deeper story that could also have those same elements in there? It just seems like they've lost all creative control, and so someone just said, "Hey, why don't we just do Goonies in Star Wars?" And they said, "Oh yeah, let's just do it." And like, that's what this seems like, honestly. It just seems like, oh yeah, let's just put something out there, and oh, Jude Law's available. All right, let's just put Jude Law in it and see how that goes. Like, it just doesn't feel like there's any stakes for this show at all.
Well, you know, what's funny, and Brian might be able to chime in on this a bit, is that a lot of Star Trek fans are like saying that this is basically just a ripoff of that animated Star Trek show that they did, Prodigy, Star Trek Prodigy.
Yeah, yep. I'll be honest with you. I wish Prodigy had this more of a vibe. Like, I liked Prodigy, but Prodigy was how do I explain it? it felt a little small in scope, but not in the good way. Like it had this like, it was just not believable. It was made for like little kids, and good. It was a good show, but there was various problems I had with it as an adult. My kids probably loved it, but not me. I was like, oh, it's cool. I think this looks like it might be a better version of that, because in Prodigy they're slaves in like this mine, and they find an experimental ship from Starfleet that has a holographic version of Janeway, and they go on an adventure. And if that was it, if that was like, then that was like the episodic thing, great. But then they go on this big story arc that sort of falls apart for me. But maybe this works. You know, I think this might work. I'm with Gabe. Like, it looks very interesting to me. So, and this is the first thing it looks interesting since Force Awakens trailer.
Yeah.
How many of y'all want to bet that Jude Law is the bad guy?
Oh no!
Just from this trailer alone, we can already predict that's probably what's going to happen. That's where they've gotten to, right? Everything is predictable and just lacks any stakes.
He's a Jedi, and as we all know, Jedi live in shades of gray. There's no good or bad. It's just your perception of it. Tom, I know that you haven't seen the trailer, but I wanted to get your take on just the idea of Goonies in space. What do you think about that?
Well, I have to ask. Aside from Goonies, please tell me the last successful film or franchise other than what do you call it, the one you just brought up here, Stranger Things, which is basically just a ripoff of Goonies. So when was the last time we had a kid driven franchise like that, or movie or show that was actually successful?
Stranger Things.
Because that's my point, is like, that's it, because it's such a hard thing to find something that works and actually find kid actors in a group that work. Like, if you don't have Corey Feldman and half those kids that are in that original Goonies group, it doesn't work. That's why half of them are in Stand By Me, for Pete's sake. You know, like
Super 8 did well.
Super 8 did okay, but that's J.J. Abrams.
260 versus a 50 million budget. That's pretty good.
Tom, you're absolutely right, but it's a fact. Nothing Netflix has put out is bigger than Stranger Things. Nothing comes close to its success, because when you do get this genre correct, it's a hit. Like a generational hit when you get it right. You're totally right. It's very hard to get this right with child actors, but if they do get it right, you're talking about Stranger Things. And
I mean, I get why they're doing it.
Close.
I get why they're doing it. It's appealing to the audience they're trying to attract, right? Like, you want to get more kids on board, but I think they could have gotten more kids on board had they just made decent Star Wars to begin with.
I think
parents would have been involved.
That would have been too easy.
Stranger Things scratched that itch for the normies out there. Like, again, like I talked about before, my wife, my barometer of all things normie, loves Stranger Things. Her and my daughter eat that show up. They binge watch it. They've watched every season, every episode. I've watched the first season. I just wasn't really my thing, but people like my wife love it, and you know, she's the majority of the television viewing audience. You know, I don't count us and probably most of the people in this chat as normal people to consume this stuff. These things aren't for us. They're either going to have us or not. You know, it's the broader population out there. You know, all of our wives who think we're dorks and nerds. That those are the people they have to capture. And Stranger Things did that in a massive, massive way. There's not going to be any normies out there that are going to be wanting to watch Star Wars Skeleton Crew. It's not even on their.
Yeah,
it's not even a blip on their radar. So
I don't think this is geared towards the normal Star Wars fan. This is clearly geared towards kids.
So.
Well, they've alienated all their old fans, so they need to desperately start cultivating new ones.
But how are they going to do that?
Stranger Things was a phenomenon.
That's the thing.
It was crazy.
But for the audience, that's a good point, though, because if they've already driven away their older audiences, who's going to be the ones to let their kids or even expect their kids to watch this show? Kids aren't just going to be like, hey, guess what I'm going to do? I just, I saw there was this commercial for this Star Wars show and I want to watch it, Dad. Like, that's not what's going to happen. So, yeah, I mean, I don't think it's going to be successful.
Son, get yourself a summer job and then pay for Disney Plus yourself.
I disagree that they're going after the kid demo with this. They are not. They're going after people in their mid 30s to mid 40s who love Goonies. They're going. That's who watches Stranger Things. Kids don't love Stranger Things as much as we do, Gen Xers and millennials.
And that's
because
kind of where
the
I'm
nostalgia thing. I'm telling you, this Skeleton Crew, it's not aimed at kids. It's aimed at people who love Goonies and Stranger Things. That's who
I think
aimed at.
millennials and Gen Xers though will be like, "Hey, kid, come watch this with me."
Sure, eventually, but it's not aimed at kids first and then their parents. It's aimed at the parents and then the kids.
My first thought was, I want to watch this with my kids and see what they think.
Nostalgia
Right.
for
Well,
what though? Good Star Wars? Because like I'm
Yeah, good Star Wars.
It's in a weird way, it's a nostalgia for Goonies, not Star Wars. It really is. You know, that feeling you have watching Goonies.
I'd rather watch Goonies then.
exactly.
Yeah.
I'd rather just show my kid Goonies.
You guys know what I would rather watch are some super chats. So we got Darth Maul's lower half for €5. Years ago, my car radio got stolen. After that, the thief stole a car and had an accident in front of a police station. FAFO.
That is hilarious.
There you go.
Yeah. I got a
was
really
pretty
good
good.
story about, because years ago I too had my radio stolen when I was living up in Eugene, Oregon, and it was a piece of crap Ford Escort. It was a terrible car, but I had this really nice at the time Pioneer sound system in there, right? And the thief broke my window, destroyed my car. And he yanked out and he pulled out the stereo system, but he took enough time to take the wires and stuff that were in the back and wrap them up and tied them up for me with little twisty ties for me really nicely, so I could put another stereo system in there that he could come back and yoink out later. So yeah, I thought
He must have been a PC.
Gentleman thief.
I was
a PC gamer. He had the zip ties ready. He was like, "Oh, I gotta clean this up."
Dude, it was great. It was like when I got the next radio in there, it just slipped right in, hooked everything
That's
up.
hilarious.
It was really funny. It is so.
All right, guys.
There's an amazing thing in the chat. I'm sorry. Sander Hammerslag, more like Groomies if Disney makes it.
Oh,
That's a good one. So guys, Old Man Rising for $5. This is Old Man Rising's third ever super chat. So I want to give a big shout out to him for creating that pattern. So many of my people in here. Long live Picard season 3, Brian. How about D3? Odin, preach Tom. May the flames of freedom bathe you in glory, Dutch.
Old Man Rising is one of our Discord guys over on the Salty Eater Gaming channel, and he actually played with us a little bit the other night on one of our live streams. So it's really cool to see him here, man. He's a good dude.
And I assume he was talking about Deadpool 3 with D3. It's doing insane. It's gonna hit $1 billion.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
All right, you guys know what's not going to hit $1 billion? Anything from Apple.
Oh yeah, that was never.
That was already the case. Yeah.
Yeah, it was already the case, but they came out and made it official that Apple is no longer releasing movies in movie theaters. By the way, guys, if you want to read these articles, links in the description.
Nobody noticed.
But what's funny is like they have this big George Clooney and Brad Pitt movie coming out called Wolves. It's kind of like an R-rated Ocean's 11
It actually
type
looks
thing.
kind of good. Yeah.
Yeah. Like there's been some good buzz about it, but apparently, according to insiders at Apple is so concerned with the good publicity and their image that if they keep releasing movies like they have been that have just been bombing at the box office, they don't want to do that. So what they're doing instead now is they're going to have limited releases for their films so that they can be eligible for awards, and then they're just going to stream them on Apple TV. And basically they're just saying like we're giving up on trying to compete in theaters because we don't know what we're doing. So I want to throw this to Odin of OMB Reviews because he is our box office maven. Odin, do you think this is a wise decision from Apple?
I mean, if they're going to keep spending the same amount of money that they have been on these projects, it's not making that much of a difference for them because their films theatrically were already just barely doing anything. Like they were never making money. Even the films that might have been a little bit on
basically advertising.
Better side. Yeah, exactly. So it's like they were honestly, but if you think of it from that way, when you put something out theatrically, you're spending that much more money on your marketing to be able to try to drive people out to the theater. And so I guess in some ways you could say that it's a smart move because now they're not spending that extra money, but it also means that they have to rely purely on people going to their streaming service. And I don't really know how their numbers have been on their streaming service. I don't think that they've been to the levels of like Netflix or some of the more successful streaming services out there. So again, it's just that weird thing to me. Basically, if Apple really wants to start to have a place in this space, they've actually got to be a little bit more competitive with their streaming service in general. Probably need to start spending a heck of a lot less on content. And also, I think it was, I believe it was they that had the rights to Killer of the Flower Moon, right, by Scorsese. Like, that movie, I believe it was not that the budget was $200 million, but that they spent $200 million just for the rights to have the movie. And it's just
that was me and Brian's favorite movie of the year.
And look, I know that y'all hated it. I liked it a lot. It was for me, especially compared to The Irishman, which sucked. It was brilliant in comparison, but I still was like, that's not worth $200 million. I'm sorry. Like, I like
rights
Scorsese,
is worth. Well, the rights to what? Like, that story is so
that's
small and
typical.
scope.
Yeah.
Who owns the rights
the
to that?
typical thing right now with you guys got to understand, and this is where I've been arguing with idiots online all week about the Coyote Acme movie. They're like, Warner Brothers wanted too much. They wanted $70 million. I was like, do you realize how much these streaming services usually pay for these movies? Like 200 million is the average.
Yeah.
Right? Like 70 million ain't nothing. That means the movie sucked and nobody wanted to pay no more than that for it. That's what I was trying to say to people. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. No, you're 100% correct that, like, this thing with Apple, I don't understand exactly why they're doing this, but they do have some good movies if they just get them out there. Tetris was one of my favorite movies.
Yes.
Last
Tetris
year.
was great.
Really good.
That
movie.
Marky Mark movie was pretty good. This Wolves movie looks pretty good that's coming up here. They've got some decent stuff. I don't know why they're hiding it.
Yeah, Apple makes quality, like, original series and original movies and stuff like that. They just don't know how to market them.
It's,
in my opinion.
it's Clooney and Pitt. That's gold every time, right?
Gold,
I mean,
Jerry.
Reuniting for the first time in what, 10 years?
The trailer looks really good. Looks really funny. I would like to see this movie in the theater, but I'm not going to. So, but I am going to watch it.
Well, you know, Gabe, like, Apple has kind of like prided themselves on like prestige series and televisions. Like, they don't want to license stuff for their Apple TV service. So like they're trying to make original stuff, and the original stuff is actually like pretty good for the most part. But the problem is that the only people who sign up for Apple TV are the ones who buy a new Apple device and get like 6 months for free. Right. And but nobody ever goes and checks it out for the most part. So what's your take on this? Do you think it's a good move for them to step away from the theatrical game?
Absolutely. Yeah, because I own a business and I publish and write and draw comic books, and everything in business is persuasion. Everything is how you look. You sell the sizzle, not the steak, right? So if you have movies that just flop and that's just being said on, you know, Variety and Hollywood Insider and Rotten Tomatoes that you're not making any money, your brand perception will go down. People say, oh, Apple movies, you mean Apple flop movies? You don't want that out there. This is the right move because they haven't figured out how to make these things be blockbusters at the theater. You don't want your movies coming out and flopping. You just don't. It makes your brand look like crap. And you can't erase a stain like that. Once you ruin your brand, it'll take forever to come back. A notable one is like Domino's Pizza. Remember how bad they were? And then they turned it around like in 25 or 2010. Now they're the leader in the market, but they were not. Like, you'll see it occasionally where a brand goes down the toilet and they come back, but it's very hard to recover. So I think this is the right move, absolutely.
And I think also a good comparison, because you know how we typically talk about how Paramount Plus is awful, right? Is garbage. They had, as of last update to this article on Digital Trends, they had 71 million subscribers versus Apple TV, which has 25 million subscribers. Right. And now they do add saying, well, it's actually like 50 million with promotions because people are getting that free subscription when they get a new iPhone and stuff like that. So it's like people, as far as going out of their way to pay for the service even after that promotion, is still nothing compared to even Paramount Plus, which most people would say is not a successful streaming service.
Isn't it basically just a gateway to their iTunes crap anyway? Because like if the movie's not on Apple, it's a lot like Amazon, where it's like you can rent it or buy it through iTunes then, basically. So it's a lot like that.
Yeah.
Well, I want to ask Brian, because Brian, Apple seems to be falling into the same trap that Amazon did, where they're basically using their original production division as a way to basically like hobnob with celebrities. And they just had this one movie come out with Channing Tatum and Scarlett Johansson that nobody bothered to check out at the theater. It's a huge flop. I think they spent like $200 million on the budget, and it only made like, I don't know, like 30 million at the box office, something like that.
What was it called?
Fly Me to the Moon, $37 million.
Fly Me to the Moon. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I like that movie.
Yeah. $131 million loss at this point.
But it's like nobody knew about that movie. Nobody cared about that movie. But it seems like Apple's more concerned about the celebrity relationships and associating them with the Apple brand than actually, you know, making successful movies and TV shows. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think the Apple is really, really bad at marketing. I can't explain this because they're great. Like everyone loves their phones. I'm not an Apple guy. I'm an Android guy. I like to actually customize my stuff, and I don't want people listening and want me, go to the bathroom. But they're really bad at marketing their TV and movie stuff. Like they're bad at marketing the entertainment. Straight up, like I found out about Fly Me to the Moon because I'm a YouTuber. Because other people in my space were talking about it. I actually like the movie. My wife and I like the movie a lot. That movie should have done better. Like if it was actually marketed correctly and had trailers out there and had some kind of promotion, then it would have done better. Like you had stars in it. It was a pretty cool story and a cool premise. There's no reason why it doesn't do well. Tetris. I mean, I know Tetris did well, but like it should have done way better. That movie was phenomenal. Mm-hmm. And it didn't. These movies, like they don't do very well because they're not marketed. Go to Apple TV. Even their front page is hard to navigate. You don't know what's coming up. You don't know, like even on their own web, they don't market their own product. They're bad at marketing. It's funny because I told my brother, I'm like, yo, like 3 years ago, I'm like, you guys check out Apple TV. They got some cool stuff. Well, right up his alley. He loves like the cerebral kind of sci-fi stuff, right? And he finally checked it out, and he's like, dude, it's my favorite streaming service. There's so much good stuff here. How did I know about it? Because they're not promoting their stuff. Like, it's just not promoted. There's a light promotion for Fly Me to the Moon, but like there should have been way more. They're just bad at marketing. And I know it's weird to say that Apple's bad at marketing.
They're bad at marketing, but every one of us have one of these things in our hand.
Right. Maybe they used to be good at it, but they're not good at it anymore.
Mr. Butters, when Steve Jobs was alive, they were good at marketing. Ever since Steve Jobs passed away, they've just been riding off the coattails of what he set up. Like they've done nothing innovative. Totally. They've done nothing new.
They got those 3D goggles that nobody wants to wear.
Because they're $5,000.
The best thing about it, you mentioned how they're not innovating. That's why my favorite thing is, what's the most recent thing? Oh, they've added USB-C. Oh, that's amazing. That's great.
Yeah, their iPhone has not changed much.
Now you could update your home screen so that you could actually size the widgets. What?
Android was able to do that 12 years ago. 12 years ago, you could do that on a Samsung Moment.
Okay, but what I'm saying is, if maybe it's Samsung who's bad at marketing. Otherwise, we'd all be carrying a Samsung phone around and not an iPhone.
They did have a phone that blew up.
Look, Apple was first, bro. Samsung has 55,000 different phones, and
I would like to have
one
an Android Samsung phone too, but they don't play well with each other. My whole entire family are a bunch of Apple knuckleheads, so I was basically forced to get in on the plan, which I find annoying. But
I've had the same Samsung phone for 8 years. It still works great.
I used to have an Android phone. It didn't play well with everybody else that I knew in the world, except for Matt, who was the only other person that I knew that had a Samsung phone.
I will say that.
The bottom line is I think Matt's right. They're writing the previous they're writing their previous success, and since then they haven't innovated much. And they're bad at marketing. Look, they're making good stuff. There's good movies and good TV shows on Apple Plus, straight up. But so few people know about it. You can't be successful if you don't tell anyone about what you have to sell. So,
we've been telling everybody that Apple TV has some great stuff on it for a couple of years now. I mean, it's
also branding, because I mentioned this before. Apple TV is actually their box set. Apple TV Plus is their subscription service. Mm-hmm.
Right.
So it's like confusing. It's like, oh, do you have Apple TV? It's like, no, I don't have an Apple TV. It's like, no, Apple TV Plus. Oh, okay.
You're so right, Owen. My brother thought he had to have Apple TV to watch Apple TV.
Yep.
He didn't know you can sign up on Roku or whatever,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mr. Butters, is there anything you'd like to add to this conversation?
Nope. I've said my piece. I'm going to go. I'm interested in the movie. It looks fun. I'll go watch Wolves.
For the record, I am Team Android, but I do have an iPhone because of family.
Yeah.
Because as you mentioned, but that's going to be changing soon because with RCS now coming out, the whole green bubble, blue bubble thing's essentially going to be.
I want my X phone. I want Elon to make an X phone.
Right.
Get it
I would say I have Apple everything, but any artist worth their salt uses Apple. It is superior for graphics and comic books and all. It just
disagree on that one.
Are you talking about computers?
I mean, I've been doing it for a quarter century at the highest levels. I kind of know what I'm talking about.
I mean, I've been doing it for 25 years as well.
And
I'll give you a little insight. Maybe if you're buying prefab computers, Apple is better. But the second you build your own system, it's far superior for a much
There's nothing
price.
like an iPad. Nothing draws like that. Not a
That's
centipede,
not
a-
true.
buddy.
Oh my God.
Drawing.
I've been drawing on a bamboo for like 12 years, dude. No issues at all.
But
It cost me $80.
Batman and Borderlands and Gears of War, like professionally the highest level.
That's
stuff.
cool, bro.
I will-
I spent $80 on mine and it works great. I make a
Let's
living
Why
off
don't
the
you
it.
baby
guys
here.
argue in
There's
the private
yeah.
chat
Nothing like an
because
Yeah.
I just wanted to bring up a point that basically what Apple's doing is they're the underwear gnomes, but they're trying to do what Sony did during the 90s and 2000s. And that was, they were like, look, we make CD players, we make DVD players and VCRs and all that stuff before that. Why aren't we owning the stuff that's going in those CD players and DVD players and such? So that's why they bought Columbia and TriStar, and so they could sell the movies that you were playing in your player. So that's kind of what Apple's trying to do here, is they want you to have the stuff to consume on your iPhone or your iPad or what have you. But the thing is even as a streaming service, because a lot of times, like you just said, if you already have Apple service, you get the Apple streaming service for free with it. So they're really like the underwear gnomes in this situation. How are they profiting from this?
Yep. And
Right,
how many people are actually watching the stuff that they get for free?
Yeah.
Well, guys, speaking of people
Prime.
not watching stuff, let's talk a little bit about Borderlands, which apparently very few people have watched. Guys,
I saw it. It's not that bad.
Guys,
Brian,
this movie had the cut.
It's not that bad.
Guys, this movie for the longest time had the coveted Rotten Tomatoes critic score of 0% until Grace Randolph broke the blockade and said, "I like this movie." And you guys, you know what's crazy about Borderlands is that it's a popular video game franchise. We've gotten a lot of video game adaptations lately that have actually gotten nominated for like major awards, like The Last of Us and Fallout and stuff like that. So it's no longer a stigma to try to translate video games into movies or TV show properties. But Eli Roth really seemed to take a bath on this one because I believe, Noden, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe this was like a $200 million budget, and it's only made like $18 million at the box office so far.
Are you talking about for Borderlands?
Yeah.
The last I had saw was that it was about $115 million budget, but it could have updated since the last time I checked.
I guess there were some
regardless-
reshoots that bumped it up to between 110 and 120, I guess.
Okay, yeah, I see that. Yeah.
All right, but it's only made like between 11 and 18 million at the box
Oh
office.
yeah, it's not expected to do much. Like it's something where it's right now expected to do $8 to $10 million this weekend. Last update.
So Brian, you liked this movie. I haven't seen it yet, so I can't pass judgment. But I want to hear why you liked it so much.
Okay, so how many here have played Borderlands?
Love it. Absolutely.
Yeah,
I don't
so do
play
I.
video games, and I love it.
Okay, I play like 5 video games. I'm pretty religious when it comes to like when I find a video game, like that's my boo for a while. I've been playing Dota for 20 years. I played Borderlands a lot, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the crap out of it. It's a great game. It's fun. Has a super vibrant universe, interesting characters. It's like playing a science fiction movie. And I gotta be honest, man. This movie, it hit a lot of those beats.
Really?
Like if you like the game, like you're probably gonna like this movie. I'm not saying it's perfect. I'm not even saying it's good, but I'm certainly saying like it's definitely worth a trip to your $5 Tuesday night theater for sure. Especially if you played the games, like you're probably gonna enjoy this movie. Like you're gonna enjoy it.
Really?
I know everyone's like going crazy about how bad it is. It is not as bad as people are saying it is. And then I would even argue that if you played the games, you're probably going to like it.
I think Gabe left to go watch it based off of your recommendation.
I'm just being honest. Like, dude, like it's one of those movies that is very, very, it actually promotes the game. Like there's things in the game that you're not going to understand. Like if you watch this movie and you don't play the game, I'm sorry to say, you're probably not going to understand it and you're not going to enjoy it. And I think that's what's going on now. People that didn't play the game, they're not getting all like that sub humor that's in there. There's a lot of sub humor and a lot of references that really only work if you played the game.
So what you're saying is that if you're not a fan of the games and you don't like it, that somehow the opinion is less valid?
No, I didn't say that. Why would you even say that?
No, I was just trying to.
I'm sorry, Odin. You deserve this now, bro. I'm sorry.
Oh gosh. The only one that
was a ridiculous statement.
Maybe
no, I didn't say that.
Maybe if we damage his eyes, maybe his opinions
on
will improve.
What I said, bro, is that if you played the game, you're probably going to enjoy the movie, and if you didn't play the game, you probably won't.
Odin, when Brian goes blind, it's your fault. So
yeah, 100% Odin's fault. Because he makes such ridiculous statements in reference to my character, and I don't like it. Look, Odin, your opinions are totally valid whether you played the game or not. All I'm saying is if you played the game and you watched the movie, you're going to probably like it.
That's why I was asking a question. That's why I was asking.
No, you definitely framed that question in a way that was very negative to my character, sir.
All right, Gabe, I want to get your opinion on this because the marketing for this movie was not good, and there was very little buzz about this thing. But even though it's like a big summer kind of like sci-fi actiony blockbuster, what was your take on Borderlands, and have you seen it yet? And do you want to see it?
I wanted to go see it last night, and I just couldn't bring myself to do it because the reviews. I did a tiny bit of artwork for Borderlands, the comic book series for IDW, like 10, 12 years ago. So, but again, I'm not a gamer because I don't have time. I like video games a lot, but I just don't make time for them. But Borderlands is a game I made time for because I love the art style. Again, as a comic book artist, I love that it was a 3D comic book is how the art was done. And then the Reddit humor was tolerable. It was funny or whatever. Yeah, but I loved the guns and the crazy action. I thought it was fun. The crazy sci-fi worlds. I really liked it a lot. I think it's a shame that the movie is not good. And Brian, you said you liked it because you played the games, you know all the lore. I'll tell you, I'm ignorant to this because I haven't seen the movie. From the outside looking at your comment, then that means it's not a good movie because when you write a story, you have to write it so I don't need to see the games.
You're 100% correct. That's why I'm saying it's not a great movie.
It has to stand on its own.
But you know what your artwork that you love so much, like the scenery, like the way the games look, like the movie looks like that, dude.
See, I want to see it just for that, you know.
And that's what I'm saying. Like when it opens up, you're like, oh shit, this is Borderlands.
See that,
and and that makes it a bad. I get it. That makes it a bad movie because if you didn't play the games, you're not going to appreciate that. I totally understand that. But if you played the games, like this is like, you're going to like the movie. You're probably going to like the movie. I'm not saying you're going to love it, but you're probably going to like it.
Would you say it's a love story to Borderlands fans?
I hate it when people say that. This is a love letter to Borderlands fans. No, I don't. I mean, I don't know about that. Like the casting is.
That's what I got when World of Warcraft movie came out. I mean,
because the casting. Yeah, you're right. And you know what? The World of Warcraft movie was certainly like if you played the games, you're gonna like the movie.
How does it compare to that? Because that's exactly how I felt about the World of Warcraft movie.
I think it's a little better.
I'm a huge Warcraft guy. I appreciated what they did. But
yeah, with the doorway and all that. Like same here. So I played Warcraft. I played specifically Warcraft 3 Frozen Throne and Warcraft 2. And when I watched the movie, I was like, yeah, this is a pretty sick movie. Everyone else hated it. And I was like, this is pretty cool. Borderlands, especially with the eagle scene. I'm sorry. I'm trying to, that was such a badass moment. But with Borderlands, it's more like, I think there's more. They focus less on a couple characters and you focus a lot more. Like there's even like these like sub characters, and like even their weapons, like the Infinity Pistol. If you play the games, you know what that is.
Let me ask this question, Brian.
How did the 50-year-old playing a 20-year-old work?
No, the casting is not great.
Okay.
And what's funny is like you Clappy is supposed to be like inappropriate, but somehow Jack Black makes it more inappropriate than it should be. It's a weird, like, I think they even went a little overboard with his humor. The casting is not great, but I gotta say, dude, she really acts her. It's like she works for it, dude. Well, she didn't mail it in.
Let me just hop in here because me and Dutch had a conversation yesterday about how bad the casting was for this. But the even biggest thing is that the characters who are supposed to be hot are played by much older women. So like Jamie Lee Curtis, not that attractive. Cate Blanchett, who's classically attractive, like she's way too old for this character in this movie. Like she
acts her ass off though. She works.
But she looks like one of those women who just got divorced, where her husband left her for a younger model, and she's trying to get back in the game.
She does, yeah.
So Dutch, do you think that this movie was hurt by a lack of sex appeal?
I hate you. I don't know. I mean, maybe. I mean, if they had the chick who plays Harley Quinn, what's her name?
Margot Robbie.
Maybe if they have Margot Robbie in the Kate Blanchett role, maybe I'd be a little more interested. I don't know. But there was nothing about this movie that even remotely made me want to go see it. Nothing. I didn't play Borderlands. And this movie just I don't think it was just made for me. I'm not interested in it. So, and yeah, I think the marketing was weird. You know, they always put in the Jack Black stuff, which was kind of funny, but you know, he's kind of annoyed everybody on the planet right now with his Tenacious D stuff. I'm sure that didn't help the box office at all. You know, probably hurt it a little bit. It just Kate Blanchett she seemed really miscast for this. For the little bit of research that I did about this character, she's supposed to be way off. I'm not really sure what they were going for there at all. You know, and Jamie Lee Curtis, come on. I mean, she peaked 25 years ago. So
yeah, in True Lies, she peaked.
Yeah,
that's when she peaked.
Yeah, no,
but that scene was iconic.
I have no interest in seeing this. I'll wait till it comes out in 10 days on HBO Max or whatever. So whatever, it'll be fine.
Well, I want to ask Odin, because Odin, the critics were pretty unanimous in how bad this movie was, considering that it had a 0% Rotten Tomatoes score. And then Grace Randolph comes in and says, "I liked it." She stands in solidarity with Brian. What's your take on the critics' reaction to this movie?
I mean,
yes, Brian Randolph, tell us.
It's so it's the same that it always is whenever critics are brought up, which is that their opinion is completely worthless on pretty much everything. But it's also amazing to hear that Grace Randolph is the only one willing to go out on a limb on this movie, and I think it says a lot.
I bet you $10 she played Borderlands 2.
Those that like it. Well, I mean, you would say that, and yet, you know, it's not even just that score. I mean, you look at almost all the audience scores across several platforms, and it's getting eviscerated. This is not getting the same kind of love as, for instance, a film like Five Nights at Freddy's, which, as someone who did not play those games at all, I was able to go in and actually enjoyed myself. The film was not a great film, but it was entertaining, and as a non-fan, I was able to be entertained. This sounds like a film where even if you are a hardcore fan of the games, it's still split. And I don't even say it's split evenly. I would say it sounds more like an 80-20 people not liking it who are fans of the game. And it's like a very small minority of people, Brian, who actually like it. So, I mean, that's where I come from with this. And the box office is just being very clear. And I think the marketing just didn't help it either. You asked that question earlier to someone else about sex appeal. I think that has less to do with that and more to do with it just didn't have audience appeal. It didn't have any appeal to it at all. People watched and said, no idea what this is. And even fans of the game were watching it saying, wait, they cast this person? This doesn't make any sense. So you already have people from all over criticizing it just from the marketing alone. And it doesn't sound like the film's itself holding up either.
Yeah, I mean, why cast Kevin Hart when Terry Crews could have played that role?
Yeah, is that character a midget in the game? Like,
no, he's super tall.
No, yeah, he's not a midget.
Is it going to kill them, Hollywood, to have a white male leading action hero? Will they actually die if they do that?
They'll probably make money.
They already have Deadpool. Wolverine's going to have $1 billion.
Deadpool and Wolverine has two of them, and they're doing really great.
Top Gun Maverick. Oh, wow, weird. How confusing.
You know, I would argue Twisters sort of has a male lead. That's a pretty good movie.
Pretty fun.
I want to throw this to Tom. Tom, do you think that the failure of this is going to send a message to Hollywood about casting and faithful to source material and all that stuff?
It's going to be an interesting message that they learn from this one. I mean, first of all, there's a lot of levels to the holy shitness to this movie. I mean, first of all, you have another video game property that didn't perform well. So to a lot of those folks who said video games are going to be the next big thing, I said, I wouldn't jump on that train yet. This is another proof of that, because it's a tough animal. So I don't know if they'll learn that one. As far as like the not having any attractive people in their movie, no. Because that at this point, if they're hung up on that, they're going to be hung up on it. If they're not, they're not. Maybe after Deadpool and Wolverine, we'll see some shifts. I mean, we have noticed a few shifts here and there. I mean, if anything, this movie's telling me that Hollywood's healing a little bit, because Lionsgate is turning back into Bomb Factory, which is normal. because they don't normally make a movie unless it's on accident, like John Wick, that's a success, and that's the way they used to be. And for a while, they were doing better than some of the big boys because they just hadn't really changed their, politics. As far as Eli Roth, I don't think this is even going to hurt him as much as people think it's going to, because I think this was more of a work for hire kind of thing for him, and he probably did exactly what they asked him to do. And I don't know if you guys caught that interview with Vince Vaughn this last week on Hot Ones, but he kind of brought up this. Yeah, he brought up this point about, how these executives have these set of rules they go by, and as long as they go by these set of rules, they can't get fired. And that explains, and I said that's exactly what happens with people like Kurtzman and so on and so forth. And Eli Roth probably got this gig because he's Eli Roth, and he did exactly what the notes asked for, so he probably won't lose. He did an IP, and that's what Vince Vaughn was talking about, is like, it's an IP, you can't fire me. And I doubt it was his idea to begin with. He was just doing it as a work for hire job. As far as Jamie Lee Curtis, I'm sure she's got her foot even deeper inserted in her mouth after the Marvel comment last week. Because like a lot of people, I was like, yeah, she's not wrong, but she's got to remember, she just dumped 3 horrible Halloween movies on us, and she's got a Borderlands movie open up this week, and that's not looking like it's going to open too well. So if I were her, I would not be throwing rocks in glass houses right now.
I know she's still living high off that yogurt.
I know, right?
Royalty. Yeah,
I guess so, because I'm just looking at this going, and you expected this to turn out any other way? How? This should be at best a streaming film. Now this goes off to the opposite of what we were talking about earlier. You have stuff like this that, yeah, they should only be spending $30-40 million on it. And it should be on streaming with no name nobodies that you never heard of, right? And as long as you make it like the video game, people will enjoy it or they won't, and you have a better shot at something like this. Not everything is going to be Mario. Not everything is going to be Sonic. Those are really kind of, they've been around for almost 50 years now in some ways, if you think about it. So
Jamie Lee Curtis was the worst part of the movie. I would say, like, the casting was bad. She didn't sell it. My least favorite part of the movie was probably anything with Jamie Lee Curtis.
Well, guys, I want to just reiterate that I have a belief that Grace Randolph is the Jim Cramer of the movie industry. Just believe the opposite of what she says, and that's usually the truth. Real quick, we have the Astro Nerd Boy, a member for 17 months. Wow. Borderlands 3 gameplay is awesome. The story is awful and cringe at times. No wonder Randy Pitchford thought the movie was great. Burn, sick burn. And you pucked that for $4.99. 2015, my passport got stolen. I have to pay a bribe to the police to write a report and then pay immigration officer and then. So thank you, Mr. Dat. It's very insightful.
I love how you say his name different every time he donates a little bit.
Yes. Well, I'm trying not to use my Chinese accent.
Trying to hit the voice. Yeah, I was waiting for
you're probably never going to get it right. So it's okay.
All right, Dutch, do you want to read Mr. Dat's super chats from now on?
No, you're doing a great job.
Yeah,
just say the word. You fuck that. That's how you say it. You fuck that. I think I can't do it either.
You poop that beach.
$2.
Yes. $2. And then. Yes.
Yeah.
And then, nice. Guys, we're 5 away from hitting our super chat goal, just to give you guys a heads up. But you know who didn't hit the goal, guys? And that is Roland Emmerich when it came to Stargate. He has officially given up any hopes of making a Stargate movie.
Good!
Reboot. And this is over on Gate World, and this was kind of an interesting article. I actually found it.
Have any claim over the original rights anymore?
Well, that's what this article was talking about, and a big shout out to the Popcast Twitter account for posting about this, because that's how I found out about it. And speaking of the Popcast, Brian, do you want to give us a breakdown of what this article basically talked about with all the crazy rights issues that are going on with Stargate?
So there are a lot of right issues with Stargate, and famously, at least among Stargate fans, Joe Flanagan, the guy who played Shepard in Atlantis, attempted to gather and buy all of the rights and create and can continue SGA after it was canceled. And he had all these investors together. And one reason why that failed was because it's such a messy issue between the movie and the TV show and distribution and where it can go and all that. That his investors, and he had a lot of them, had a lot of money, gave up because it was too complicated. and that's why he was never able to do that. But he actually tried to launch a campaign in order to buy the rights to Stargate Atlantis, but it was just too complicated. The thing with Roland is, first off, I'm glad he gives up on Stargate. Okay, Roland Emmerich is not the reason why the movie was good. He's not. In fact, if he had nothing to do with it, it probably would have been fine. Roland Emmerich is a horrible creator, in my opinion, and he would only damage the franchise by removing the last 25 years or 30 years or whatever, however long it's been, of TV lore, and going back to his movie and and making it this little mini universe that lives only in his head. So I'm very glad that he has nothing to do with it. But he does have a little bit of rights when it comes to, he has like first refusal basically when it comes to a movie, which means if Amazon wants to create a TV show, anything with Stargate, it's going to have to be a TV show. Or it's going to have to be a movie that is like meant for TV, you know, like a TV movie, something that precedes a series in some way. If they try to do an actual like theatrical release, then Roland, I guess, has some kind of rights to be involved, or at least to refuse it. So, him saying he wants something to do with it is actually really good. It's perhaps it will make the rights when it comes to Stargate easier to navigate because he is no longer one of the hurdles.
And I'm looking at his IMDb right now. He's got some monsters on here. I mean, look at that. Godzilla, that's like the worst movie ever made. But you know, Patriot, Day After Tomorrow, 10,000 BC, 2012. Those are some bangers right there, dude. Those are like right in.
Yeah, I don't hate it, but I mean,
he made some good stuff with his partner. Now look at every movie he made after Dean Devlin.
Which is what year? It doesn't say what. You know,
I'll have to look at it to tell you exactly what they are. But I've done a lot of looking into him, and I think that the guy was good when he was with a team. The second he left his team, all he ever created was shit. And his idea for
come on,
his idea for. He made Independence Day was a great movie, but Independence Day 2 was one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life. Yeah. And Resurgence or whatever, with a ship larger than the Earth somehow. I don't even know how that works, dude. Yeah. The guy made Moonfall.
Hey, he had to out Jar Jar Abrams, okay? You can't blame him for that.
Yeah. I hate that he has credit for Stargate Atlantis because of his rights when he had nothing to do with it. Like literally nothing to do with it. And you know why I know that? Because I know the guy who made Stargate Atlantis. We're friends.
Yeah, guys. Basically, the article breaks down that anything from the TV shows, the guys who created the TV shows kind of have the rights to, and anything that was in the movies, MGM or Dean Devlin and Roland Emmerich kind of had the rights to. But real quick, I just wanted to get Brian's take on this, but if anyone from the panel has anything to chime in about the Stargate stuff, we're still wondering when Amazon's going to pull the trigger, because they're basically sitting on a gold mine. They're sitting on a property that could print them money, and yet it's still languishing. They have no idea what they're doing with it.
Yeah, you're talking about, what, 300 plus episodes, 360 plus episodes of television, loved by millions and millions of people. My first big worldwide, there are still Stargate conventions going on worldwide. The show hasn't been on air for a very, very, very long time. People are still extremely attracted to this franchise. My biggest video and the thing that put my channel on the map was Stargate. I made a Stargate documentary, and my first one where it doesn't even have background music. I had no idea what I was doing, but 3 million people have watched it. And I was nobody at the time. I'm still nobody, but I was really nobody. The thing is, Stargate is a money printing franchise. If you don't even have to do it perfect, just like do it good enough, and you will have instant money. Matt's totally right. But the problem is, Amazon is really weird about spending an insane amount of money on stuff like Rings of Power and Citadel, but when it comes to franchises like Stargate, because they have to run it by people, I think they get this weird thing where it's like, well, we're going to be sharing funds, so we want to make this for as cheaply as possible. And they went to the guys who made The Expanse, who are connected to Amazon at the hip, like they're very well. Penguin and Parker is the name of the production group. And they're like, yeah, what do you guys think about making Stargate? And these guys who are huge fans of sci-fi and Stargate, which most sci-fi fans are, they're like, absolutely, let's do it. They're like, cool, we're going to put it as a MGM Plus only, and you get $1 million an episode. And they're like, that's not enough. There are like a minimum of 8 people in the movie, in the series. Like, it's an ensemble cast, and it's science fiction. $1 million is not enough. So they went back to the drawing board, and they gave him a pitch that was going to have a slightly larger budget, and it was going to include like a movie that was going to come before it or whatever, like a little mini like TV movie. But that was a weird thing because Roland Emmerich's like, whoa, wait a minute. I don't want to make Stargate based on the TV shows. I want to go back to the movie. And so that got weird. And then they reached out to Brad Wright, who's their creator of the SG-1. And he gave him a script, and they didn't like the script because it had something to do with, it connected Stargate Universe to this new series, and they didn't want to deal with Stargate Universe because like the ensemble cast over there is there's like 12 people. It's hard to lock them down, and the main actor's name is David Blue. It's hard to work with, and they're like, we don't want to deal with that. Let's just deal with that later. Let's get a new series going that doesn't involve Universe. But they don't tell Brad Wright that. They didn't tell Brad Wright not to make it Stargate Universe script. If it's the last series he did, you would think that he would want to connect those two things. Yeah. They didn't give him the information, so I gave him the wrong script. They went back to Penguin and Parker. There was a teaser planned for Comic-Con last year, and then the writer's strike and the actor's strike and all that killed it, and we're in limbo.
Well, yeah. So I'm going to move on for topics here. Brian, thank you for that breakdown. If you guys want to check out our interview. If you want to check out our interview with Joe Flanagan, he actually talks about how he tried to buy the rights to Stargate back when MGM was languishing. It's on our channel. It's a very good interview. He's a really cool guy. But I want to talk about Zack Snyder for a minute here.
Why?
Because Netflix has basically given up on him after his string of flops. There's a story that just came out that basically Snyder wanted to do another Army movie, Army of the Dead, stuff like that. And Netflix was like, no. How about no? Because
no?
Exactly.
Zach. Actually, I've been hearing that there may not be as much validity to this story as we'd like to think.
Well, I'll throw it to you in a second here. So basically,
that's all I know, but yeah.
Basically, Zack Snyder did a follow-up to Army of the Dead, which was kind of like a pretty good success for Netflix in terms of their original stuff. But it was about thieves instead of zombies. And so the zombie fans were like, what the fuck is this? And they didn't watch it. And then he wanted to do an animated show, and Netflix was like, no, it's going to be too expensive and nobody cares. And then he went off and did Rebel Moon movies. Those flopped, and then he released his director's cuts. I don't know if you guys have been following this on Twitter, but there's been this big backlash from the Snyder bot army about how people aren't reviewing the director's cuts, and therefore they are lax in their YouTube duties as being quote unquote movie reviewers. And it's all astroturfed BS. But I want to throw it to you guys. Is this a sign that possibly we don't have to put up with Zack Snyder bullshit anymore? Odin, what do you think?
So. I honestly wish that was the case, but until Netflix comes right out and says we have canceled our contract with Zack Snyder and there are no more Rebel Moon movies, until I hear that from them, nothing is going to be enough. Until he is kicked to the dredges of society into the small corner where he can just keep on making up his crap ideas and crap visions all day long and no one else has to hear about it, only then will I actually be happy. And
he's going to go start his own streaming channel somewhere.
Good luck, Zach. Good luck.
Snyder Vision.
Well, it's been a Borderlands remake with Zack Snyder.
Will be in slow motion.
Tom, according to this article, they basically flat out said that the Rebel Moon franchise is dead, and there's no hopes of getting more in that franchise, at least out of Netflix. What do you think about that?
Look, yeah, I was hearing from some people that there's not really any real validity to this article, but I do see, and I would love to think they would humiliate Zack Snyder like that. Netflix would, but they won't.
They won't, yeah.
But what they will do is tell him, no, you can't have this. And I believe that may be true because he's talking about his next project being some smaller project. And for the love of God, will people stop referring to these extended special edition cuts of Rebel Moon as director's cuts? It's driving me fucking insane. That is not a director's cut. And I know some people are like, oh, it's whatever they want to call it. No, it's not. This was a big deal that was brought up during the era of unrated DVDs, because directors specifically say whether or not they are the ones who are signing off on this. And guess what? Zach got to sign off on his first cut. That's his director's cut. This is a fucking special edition. Anyway, yeah, nobody's watching this crap. Nobody cares. It's garbage. Zack Snyder is proving time and time again what I've been telling everybody for the longest time. He's his biggest fan. And other than his like 5 sycophants that have like a bot army online, nobody cares. And I hope to God this idea that he's going to do smaller projects is basically their way of telling us that, yes, he's no longer going to be allowed to play with this large amount of money. And Netflix is probably learning what everybody else has learned about Zack Snyder, and that he's a perpetual 12-year-old who doesn't know how to actually make a movie.
It depends on what your definition of director's cut is.
Gabe, you know, one of the
one definition, Odin.
Gabe, you know, one of the interesting things about Zack Snyder's quotes when it comes to these articles and stuff is he always says, we always start off so ambitious. I know that for the Army franchise and that for the Rebel Moon franchise, he had planned out like, oh, we're going to have comic books and graphic novels and video games and all this other stuff before the movies are even made and have proven to resonate with an audience. As a business owner for, you know, Big Man Comics and stuff like that, you know, and, you know, you work with Hollywood celebrities and things of that nature. Do you think that's putting the cart before the horse where it's like, okay, like we're going to mobilize making like all this artwork and comic books and graphic novels and animated films and stuff like that before we even know if the movies are going to be successful?
Yeah, I do think that you're exactly right. I think you have to grow as quick/slowly as possible. You have to grow as quickly as you can, staying safe. You do have to dare. You do have to take chances. Fortune favors the bold. But I think to put the cart before the horse and you're going to have all this investment in something you don't even know if it's going to resonate with people, I don't think that's wise. I think you put out feelers, a little A/B testing, and it's like a miner. They're digging through the mountain, and when they hit that quartz vein that has the gold in it, you chase it, right? They chase it when they dig through the mountain. So when you A/B test your projects, I put out this, I put out that, whoa, they like that. Maybe I don't like it as much, but if that's where the gold is in the mountain, then I'm going to chase that one. I don't watch Zack Snyder stuff because when I see it advertised, I feel the exact same way when I see Taco Bell ads. I'm like, I don't know, somebody likes it. I'm not interested, but apparently somebody's watching this shit. I don't know. So I can't comment on his work because I saw 300 20 years ago when it came out and I liked it. And I haven't seen anything else of his that I liked. So I haven't seen much of his. I know everyone seems to hate it very vocally, but he gets a lot of deals. So I don't know. I don't know what his movies are like. I haven't watched them in years. I have no idea.
Well, Brian, have you watched the director's cut, or I'm sorry, the extended special editions of Rebel Moon yet?
Thank you.
I started them and I fell asleep in my first like 15 minutes. I should not start them late at night. They're just sort of boring. So no, I have not finished any of them. I'm sorry.
So I've watched the first hour and a half of Rebel Moon Chalice of Blood, I believe it has been renamed. And it's basically 20 minutes of new footage. And then the rest of it is just the same bullshit, terrible movie that we got when it was called Child of Fire. But I'm kind of interested about this AstroTurf Twitter movement where it's like, oh, if you don't review the extended special editions, aka director's cuts, whatever, then you're not a real movie critic because you're not giving them a fair shot. You're just going off of what came before it.
That's not how movies work.
That's not how movies work.
But yet, I will be fair. To be fair, though, this is how a lot of Snyder Bros have been for a long time, right? Because remember when people are critical, and rightly so, of his Batman movies, and everyone's like, Batman v Superman sucked, and they're like, but you have to watch the extended cut.
No, it's the same damn thing.
I agreed.
I know. I don't know why people are saying, even Andre, bless his heart, thinks that the BBS extended cut is somehow better. I'm like,
drives me nuts.
You could put a cherry on a top of a pile of shit. It's still a pile of shit underneath that cherry. So you get 3 extra scenes. Woohoo.
I think the BBS extended cut is better because it adds more context.
I'll say this. I did not work on the movies. I had a brief thing with television with HBO and DC Comics on it. I worked on the comic books forever. And I'll tell you from the inside, as an actual Warner Brothers employee and actually being a creative, a talented creative that works there, the main problem I saw was management. These are people who are not good artists. They're not good writers, illustrators, the things we're doing in comics, yet there are bosses and coaching us on how to do it. So you have someone who doesn't know how to do what I do telling me how to do it. And when I see these movies, I know the director's good. I know the actors are good. The visual effects artists are good. And the movie sucks. All I can theorize is it's the same thing as the comic books at Warner Brothers. The editor is just some frustrated, failed writer trying to tell an actual writer how to write this. Like, you guys wouldn't believe the nonsense that goes on between editorial and creative. It's just, it's like they're resentful. It's like they want to be the star. And it's like, well, then work harder. Learn to fucking draw then if this is what you want to do. Don't try and draw through me. Don't make me do what you wanted. Like, then earn what I have. And there is a weird resentment for management in I saw in comics. I don't know if it goes up to movies, but I would only imagine it would. Like, why the fuck wouldn't it? So that's what I think is a major problem with all this entertainment is super untalented management people getting in the way of talented artists who just want to be creative. That's what I think.
I want to ask the great and powerful Dutch Butters, with these extended special editions, there's a lot more boobies, graphic sex, and violence in them, which I know you like. So are you going to check out these extended editions for that reason?
So the first movie of the super duper extended director's awesome edition, I watched the first 30 minutes of that earlier this week, and I will admit the opening scene where they're invading the planet and he goes down there, the big bad guy who I can't even remember his name,
General Titus.
When General Titus goes down there and he kills that family and makes the kid bash his dad's head in and all that kind of stuff, they really hammered home how evil this dude is. And I will admit that I found that character a little bit more interesting and intriguing after that point, which was not in the first movie. And then they went to Viking Amish town, and we had that really nasty sex scene that they really needed to take a shower before that. Watching sweaty, dirty people do it in their little log cabin. It wasn't really, didn't do much for me. So at that point, I fell asleep, and I never have had a compulsion to push play on it since. So I'm only 30 minutes into this movie.
Thing works as an aphrodisiac.
Yeah, it's something. It's something, man. But I did like the new start of the movie with the big bad, and then just kind of like setting up how evil he actually is. But after that, it got boring really quick. So yeah, I have no interest in this. I'm probably not going to finish it unless I'm just really bored one night.
Well, it's not boring, our super chats, especially from Shorty Short for $4.99. We're now up to 6. We just need 4 more $5 super chats to hit our goal. My fave Zach moment was him using an anti-war song in his zombie movie because it used the word zombie. I believe that was from the Cranberries, right?
Yeah.
Zombie. This is the same guy who said that Rebel Moon is Magnificent Seven Samurai meets Star Wars in space.
That's my favorite part of it.
I think I'm going to start watching Grace Randolph videos again. I wonder if she'll unblock me.
Why would you do that to yourself?
Just for entertainment value.
Because he likes really bad microphones.
Guys, we have to give Zack Snyder credit because over 3 billion minutes or hours were spent watching his first Rebel Moon movies, and that's more than any movie has ever been seen on the planet Earth. And if you extrapolate ticket prices based off that, it made more money than God.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah,
not God, but
does anyone know the Zack Snyder lore? Because the first thing I ever heard of was 300. Did he make movies before that were hits or famous? I don't know a lot about him.
He made Dawn of Day of the Dead, or was it Dawn of the Dead?
Dawn of the Dead.
Dawn of the Dead. And before that, he was a music video director, and he was so inexperienced in making movies that he didn't know that you could shoot movies out of sequence. So he was expecting to shoot Dawn of the Dead in order from how the script was written. Interestingly enough, real quick, guys, You've hooked that for 199. I
Sure.
slow-mo the boobies.
Me too.
There you go.
So if he already
Absolutely.
slow-moed them and you slow-moed them down even more, would they be still images?
Yes. Yes, they would be frozen.
I want to know if there is a Middle Eastern cut of this movie. Not so that I can
10
watch it,
minutes
but just so
long?
that I know it's there. So that way it's like black bars and stuff,
Financed by the government of Egypt, I'm sure. Okay, guys. So since we got Gabe on the panel and he's an expert on all things comic books, I wanted to bring this up because this is something that boggles my mind. So a recent interview came out after Comic-Con where basically someone high up at Marvel said that Blade is in a limbo state. And so the interviewer was like, so is Blade actually dead? And they're like, no, it's just in a limbo state. Gabe, why can't people figure out how to fucking make a Blade movie? It's the simplest formula ever. It's like you have a cool black guy who kills vampires. Like that's all you need.
Right.
Like why is Marvel struggling with this?
Because motherfuckers are always trying to ice skate uphill.
There you go.
That's
Thank
it.
you.
Because the thing I told you earlier, you have the untalented management who controls the levers of power in entertainment. I'm telling you, I lived this. I understand this is how it is at these companies. They all want to be a star. One thing I noticed when I went, let me back up for a second. When I went to college in 2000, I went to the University of Northern Colorado. I was an art student there. I experienced something for the first time in my life. I'm not a nerd and I'm not an artiste. I'm an artist. I was a jock growing up. Big guy, played football, coached football. I'm not into being a nerd and an artist. So I was around artists for the first time in my life in college. And I realized one thing about most artists. They don't love art. They love ego and they love being a star and having people worship them. And I was disgusted when I found that out. I love art for the sake of art. I did it most of my life for free. I do it now professionally, and I would do it for free. I love art because I love it. And I think in Hollywood, you get these people, they're frustrated, failed writer artists, and they get into management because you can get into that without artistic skill. And they want to boss around the artists as, like I said earlier, living through them. It's like you couldn't play football, so you're playing Madden and you think you're good at football. So they're living through, I'm telling you, the amount of damage and fighting they do to the project, the amount of creativity and great entertainment they destroy because of there's a reason you didn't succeed as an artist. Okay. And now you're telling people better than you at this, how to do it. It just, they screw it up. And Blade is being screwed up for reasons like that. Like you said, this is an easy one. And everyone says, oh, Iron Man 2008. Oh, no, it was Blade that started comic book movies. That is an awesome movie. That movie holds up to this day. I love it. I don't like comic book movies, but I love Blade. I think Blade is fantastic. And they need to just cast Wesley Snipes. Stop playing around. Just stop.
Yeah. And use techno music again. Let's go back to that.
Yeah, get Tracy Lords back in there. I want to see a prequel with her.
Old Man Blade, right? Like they did the Logan movie or whatever, that.
Yeah, Mr. Butters, Wesley Snipes came back to reprise his legendary role as Blade in the recently released Deadpool versus Wolverine, and he was just as badass as he was in the previous movies. In fact, he even said there is only one Blade. So, what's your take? Do you think Marvel should just bite the bullet and be like, "Oh, forget Marshall Ali. Let's get Wesley Snipes back"?
I think they absolutely should just redo the movie and have it star Wesley Snipes. I mean, everybody here knows Blade as Wesley Snipes, and nobody else wants to see anybody else play that role but Wesley Snipes. That I hate when I stammer. That line he has in the movie, like you just said, is classic. It's amazing. I can't believe they even let that be in the script, to be perfectly honest with you. Even in the Deadpool movie, it was pretty spot on the nose and kind of a really big dig at Mr. Ali. I love
they've been having so much trouble with him. Actually,
maybe they're trying to send him a message, but I loved it. I mean, give us the Blade movie. I mean, it'll make $1 billion at this point just from us nerds hyping the thing up, because it's what we really want. And at least make him pass the torch. When he came on Deadpool, when I went and watched it, the theater literally jumped out of its seat. And they thought, the Gambit thing was cool and the Elektra thing was cool and Fantastic Four, Johnny Storm, that was kind of cool. But there was no reaction bigger during the entire film than when fucking Wesley Snipes walked through that door in his Blade outfit with his badass little gray
And the
soul
music.
patch. Yeah, and I was like,
Flies under
holy
the-
crap! It was amazing. So it's
Blade flies under the radar as an iconic role.
yeah.
Nobody else can be Indiana Jones. That's Harrison Ford. No one else can do it. No, like this is an iconic. This is a career-defining role for Wesley Snipes. He's like 60 years old. He still looks great. He still looks athletic and tough and cool. He doesn't look like a doddering old man.
I also think it's important to your point, Gabe, is that in context, Blade, when it came out, people thought that comic book movies were like Batman and Robin, right? Goofy, stupid. Blade came out and freaking showed that you could make a serious, really good comic book movie, and it pretty much it created the template for what would later be the MCU.
I got that bloodbath
Right?
soundtrack going through my head right now. I could probably tap it, but it was fantastic.
And look at the influence it had. You can't tell me the Matrix doesn't copy Blade a little bit. Techno, leather,
music,
right?
And the trench coats and all that,
Right.
Yeah, Tom, I want to throw this to you because Blade has had such a troubled production history ever since it was announced. I believe back at Comic-Con, 5-6 years ago, something like that. And basically, they were going to make a big deal out of it. He was going to be kind of like the Nick Fury of the supernatural side of the Marvel universe. And just time and time again, they've dropped the ball on this. Can you kind of give us a brief overview of what you know about how this has continued to fail?
Well, it was my understanding back in 2019, they were actually in talks with Wesley Snipes to come on board in some capacity. Because a guy I used to work with script writing and ghostwriting and stuff like that was somebody who might actually had been on the team to work with them had Wesley been brought in. But it was my understanding that they either wanted him in a Whistler role or to play Blade and just to hand off the mantle to Blade's daughter. And I guess that was where the point of contention was coming in. And so he walked. And the funny thing was it was 2 days after I was told this or a day or two, actually, not even, was when they had the announcement at the Comic-Con thing with Marasha Ali. And Andre even pointed out that that's not unprecedented. In fact, the exact same thing happened with the Edward Norton, Mark Ruffalo situation, because they were trying to work things out with Edward Norton up to the last minute of the Avengers announcement at one of the Comic-Cons. And they told Mark Ruffalo, be ready. If there's a limo outside of your house at 7 a.m. on Tuesday, you're the new Hulk. And lo and behold, a limo showed up and he was the new Hulk in the Avengers film because they couldn't work it out with Norton. And I guess that's the same kind of thing that would have happened here, it sounds like. And I guess at that moment forward, they had been just trying and trying and trying. We went through 3-4 directors now, 6 different script rewrites. I was told a couple months back now, or a month back now already, that Marasha had walked. That time when his agent had said in the press that he had never seen anything like this before. It was unprecedented. He had never had any of his clients ever be hung up like this on a project for this long, this way. I got to imagine whatever they had him under contractual had probably dried up by now that he was able to walk. Because it was probably getting in the way of him doing other things. And then you go with what happened this last couple weeks here with Blade in the movie. My guess is them saying that it's on hold or whatever the hell's going on behind the scenes is they are frantically trying to work with Wesley Snipes to try and figure out some way of revamping this. And yes, I'm being punny, into some sort of Blade reboot. And they're smart if they're doing that. And I wouldn't be surprised because we've been hearing rumors, even from Chris Gord. I've heard similar rumors that Marvel knows they got to right the ship. They know they've got to get over this hurdle of the next 4 projects that people don't want to see. And hopefully that doesn't damage things between now and then. And hopefully the Fantastic Four really does get people back into the Marvel fold. But we'll have to wait and see on that. But no, I think you guys are right. The smartest thing they could do is announce tomorrow that they are bringing Blade back as Wesley Snipes. And that's what they're going to do. And that's all they need to do. We would stop with this Blade's daughter nonsense.
Yeah, Brian,
stop with that.
Imagine if they had announced an Old Man Blade movie, just go ahead and announce that thing, and then they also announce a Henry Cavill alternate universe Wolverine movie. I'm sorry, that.
Well, the Wolverine could be the new X-Men Wolverine if they wanted to be smart.
You announced that, and I'm back on the MCU train.
I agree with Gabe. I don't think they even should have had the white in his beard in the Deadpool movie, because if he had not had that white, doesn't look like he aged a day.
He looks amazing.
He looks
Just
great.
imagine like the
And
stunt
he even said he
coordinator
wasn't even in
for-
shape. So yeah.
Imagine the stunt coordinator for like The Raid or John Wick doing the new Blade movie with Wesley.
Yes.
Who I bet can still move at 60 years old. I bet he can still move. He looks
And even if he can't do some of the stunts, he's going to be able to do a lot of them, and they can always get a body double.
Well, the
in
only
there
thing
to
he
do stuff
complained
can't.
about
No big deal.
was that he didn't have time to train because it was such a quick
Yeah.
thing. He's like, I wasn't in Blade shape, but it's like, and he has been somebody who's been able to stay in really good shape for his age. And as they say, black don't crack, and he definitely has. Yeah. So.
no, he looks great,
Exactly.
man. Like, and poor Mahershala Ali, he's not a bad actor or anything, but now it's like I'm a big football guy. It's like John Elway retires or Peyton Manning, and then you're the next quarterback. It doesn't matter if you're good; you're going to be compared to the Super Bowl winner. So now you're trying to replace Wesley Snipes. Even if you're a good actor, you're just going to look stupid because all the fans are mad that it's not Wesley Snipes.
And they
So
just
he's
show that Wesley can still do
you
it.
shouldn't take a job like that. It's not a wise move.
Yeah. Real quick, I want to throw this to our comic book movie expert on the panel, Brian from the Popcast, because he runs some DC channels and stuff like that. Brian, why do you think Marvel fumbled the ball with the Blade story so much? Was it just because they wanted to do the DEI thing and make it all girl power and things like that?
Well, I mean, if you want to do the DEI thing, like the character is black, you don't have to look that hard. Just so you know, in case you weren't aware, you don't have to actually inject DEI when the main.
But he was a
character is
black male though.
But remember how angry we all were when we found out Blade was going to be played by a black guy? We were all so mad.
I know, everyone was so mad, right?
I
Like,
flipped
Oh,
tables,
wait,
I
no,
think.
we all think it's
Yeah.
like the fucking coolest thing ever. That's
dude, I was right. I was in the
kidding me?
street
We were
with
all
tiki
there on
torches.
opening day, right?
Yeah.
Like the hell.
Why is this happening? Oh no! I mean, look. I think that Wesley's look. It's a slam dunk, home run, just to back up the money truck like they did with RDJ, and just get Wesley Snipes in for another movie.
And they just need to make sure Wesley pays his taxes this time.
Right.
Well, that's the beauty. Is it's not
Right.
going to cost them that much, right?
Right, but the thing is this, like, I think, and this is I'm putting on my business guy brain right now. If you want to like make like, an 8 movie run with this character as like the Nick Fury or whatever of that team, then you don't want to, and I can understand, I'm not agreeing with this, but I can see their thought process. We don't want to go with this guy who's older, more expensive. We're gonna have a hard time getting a big long contract. We want someone we can control. We want someone that this new guy that we can pay a very reasonable price and we can lock him in for a long time. We don't want another RDJ making $80 million for a cameo. You know what I mean? We
How'd
want
that work
someone
out for
with
him, Brian.
I mean, I get it. I get what you're saying. Like, think about it, like from a business perspective. RDJ, they're spending an insane amount of money on. They've been, and every movie he's been in, an insane amount of money. If you can get another guy who can play Blade, who's younger, who could do it for longer, it's gonna cost a lot less. I get it. But as a fan, and as someone who's been watching these comic book movies for 40 years, I'm like, you know what? Let's just back the money truck up and just make a good movie and go from there.
Well, and I'd almost argue, I don't even know if maybe Mahershala Ali might have a bigger asking price right now than Wesley Snipes, to be honest with you.
Oh,
Because Wesley hasn't been in a crap ton of movies. The last few movies he's done has been like what, Dolomite, and what else? I'm trying
Coming to
remember.
America.
true.
Coming to America too, yeah.
Been
Like,
hanging out
so
with
he's
Eddie.
not been in like every buttload of movies or anything. He's not in high demand. A lot of his other movies in between his tax problems and now have been straight to streaming or video type stuff. So I don't even see why Mahershala might not be more expensive than him at this point. But that being said, who cares? Like I just was joking with you, Brian. How did it work out for them trying to dump all their big MCU people? It's like a company that goes, you know what? I think we can save a bunch of money if we fire everybody here and we outsource everything to another company overseas. And they realize they're not really saving any money. And now it's cost them 3 times as much to rebuild everything back in the US again. That's exactly what they're doing over at the MCU.
Yeah, you're 100% right.
Lord knows how much, we know how much money it's costing them to bring back RDJ. We have no idea what it's going to cost to bring back the rest of them. Because we already know just about everybody who's ever been in any Marvel movies probably going to be in Secret Wars.
You're 100% correct. And what they should have done if that was their plan was to do it a lot slower. you know, they really ripped that Band-Aid off really quick, and the fans didn't respond for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
If they had wanted to remove those people, it should have been a lot slower over a long period of time. You need to introduce the new generation, or the new character, whatever the new actors you want to play as roles, over many movies. It's not like, oh, Endgame ended, so now here's the new cast.
Right.
You know, it
Hey,
needs
guys,
to be a slow
guys,
transition.
You're absolutely right.
I'm going to have to cut this off real quick. Odin, is there anything you want to say really quickly before we move on?
I was just gonna say,
Yeah, we're going
again,
overtime.
you have to go through. You have to announce Old Man Blade, like, and then go on and just like, the thing that Deadpool Wolverine is doing is not only making them a lot of money, it's also giving them the potential to do so many things. And this is, I think, something that Spider-Man No Way Home did not capitalize on, which was they should have immediately started to get in the process of making decisions and announcements within a suitable time frame of, hey, we're gonna relaunch this universe, and they could have done so many things. Deadpool gives them that chance. I just don't think they're going to follow through with a lot of it.
Well, guys, you know who did follow through is the queen of gifted subs, Jillian N., who hit our goal for subs today. So she says, for $5, do $5 that, $5 Coke now. So, and then we have a Major Chai Chai for $5 saying, drink, drink, drink. All right, so guys, I got to pay off, the promise. I'm going to go get that Coke right now.
Get it out of that fridge. I don't have a Coke.
He has legs.
I got one.
The camera's
Nice.
following him.
I didn't know he was doing it. I got a Dunkin' Donut empty ice cup. So,
The thieves left us some Coke, so we're gonna celebrate that right now.
I got an Authentico from Mexico right here.
Nice, very nice. All right, good old Coke Zero to Jillian
used
N,
to.
Major
Jillian.
Chai Chai, the Astro Nerd Boy, all the people who gave us super chats throughout today. Thank you so much. I'll hit all of you in a second here. So
Thanks, guys.
drink up, guys. I will finish this off camera. I promise you all.
Now I need
Delicious.
Al Pastor tacos now.
Oh, that
Yeah,
sounds
all
great.
All right, guys. We had a lot
my
to talk
God,
about
you got me
today.
hungry.
And we talked about it. I want to thank everyone for being here, especially our fantastic panel of nerds. Odin of OMB Reviews, Lord of the Shelves, King of the Pineapple Pizza. Any final thoughts, and where can people find more of you?
I hate whenever you bring those titles up. Anyway, thank you as always for having me on. You can find me on OMB Reviews on YouTube, Odyssey, Rumble, and also over on Twitter. And every Monday night I have a live stream, 7:30-ish Eastern time, going for about an hour and a half. Was sick last week and also started school last week, so I had to cancel a couple things, but I should be back in full force this Monday. Thank you as always.
Very nice. And I want to thank Tom Connors Jr. for taking time away from eating cereal to join us today.
I didn't
any
have
final-
cereal today.
Oh, there you go. That's why you're here. Any final thoughts, and where can people find more of you?
You can find me at Midnight's Edge and Midnight's Edge After Dark, and I will be on the Mephisto Movie Reviews podcast here in about not even 5 minutes. This should send us over there, correct? So join us over
That
there.
is correct. Yep.
We're going to talk some Mario Brothers. We're talking about a Brit guy and a Latino guy playing Italian plumbers.
Nice.
And the one and only Gabe.
That's me. Guys,
That breathing sounds awfully
right.
anyway.
So what I've discovered is you cannot be a full-time comic artist or writer and a social media guy. I'm bringing in a full-time social media employee in the next 2 weeks. So there's going to be finally a lot of posting on YouTube and Twitter and all that. Please go and subscribe to my YouTube right now. We're at 9,030 or something like that. Let's get me up there. I can show you guys all kinds of awesome comic book stuff.
Yeah.
Just share my screen for 1 second. I'll show people what I announced at Comic-Con. I'll make it fast. I know we got to move on to other guests. But Dean Cain, All-American Lawman, the amazing first edition of the graphic novel. That I still have some at bigmancomics.com. Here is the sequel, The Hong Kong Connection. If you like capers and heists, we got that for you. I have my own Goonies called Jericho Green and the Hammerheads. 4 buddies in the 90s. You're going to love this one. The adults are being replaced by doppelgangers. Nobody believes these kids, but nobody believes you when you're 13. I also have Imperium. They ruined Star Wars. I fixed it. A husband and wife are helping rebels find this hidden lost world paradise that the evil dictator Casimir is hiding from everyone. And of course, my good buddy from Fox's Gutfield, Tyrus the Unstoppable. That's an amazing book. I'm writing and drawing this one. If you love your
nice.
Avengers, your Incredible Hulk, all that great stuff, we've got that for you. So check us out. We're doing a lot of fun stuff. Bigmancomics.com. All this stuff is going to start coming. The very end of, I'd say the beginning of 2025. These will be my full releases. 120-page graphic novels. Head over to bigmancomics.com. Amazing apparel, awesome comic books. We're having a great time, and thank you all that have already supported me.
Are you going to make Tyrus dance with the Funkadelic?
They were he was the Funkasaurus, and they were the Funkadactyls.
Yeah, that's right.
So,
Somebody call your mama.
He's an awesome guy, by the way.
Yeah.
So, guys, the link to Gabe's YouTube channel is in the description if you want to go check that out. And Brian from the Popcast, any final thoughts? And where can people find more of you? And where can they donate to your LASIK surgery that you're going to need after wearing those glasses?
Yeah.
Just become a channel member on the Popcast. We're actually doing a prologue episode this coming Tuesday for members only. And then we have our 2-hour documentary coming out next Saturday. 2 hours, longest one we've made so far. It's going to come out next Saturday. It's supposed to be this Saturday, but I cannot edit that much video in that short of a time frame. So next Saturday, come check out our new video Saturday morning. And then on Tuesday, if you're a member, come join us for the prologue episode and get a sneak peek.
Nice. Mr. Butters, what's going on the Salty Nerd Gaming channel? I hear that you're getting quite the response from your latest release.
So, we're releasing 2 podcasts a week over there. We're doing 3 to 4 live streams a week. Having a great time just hanging out with the Helldivers community that we're building. And we're actually getting ready to move on and start expanding our game set a little bit. We're going to be playing Space Marine coming up. Space Marine 2 coming out.
Oh, you are? I was going to ask you about that.
And I think I'm going to actually go buy the original Space Marine game and just kind of like futz around with that for a little while. And yes, I'm getting a lot of comments from yesterday's podcast because, I just speak from the heart and I speak honestly about my feelings on some of these things. And, some of those gaming nerds, they're pretty hardcore and set in their ways. And you talk a little bit of trash and they don't like it. It's interesting. It's a lot of fun. But, I love our community. We're having a really good community over there on our Discord. And we're starting to play with some of our fans. And it's fun. I'm having a great time over there. So join us if you're into video games.
Yes, and because of the break-in, guys, we're going to be not going to be recording this coming Tuesday like we normally do, but we will still be publishing content because we have a shark movie called No Way Up that we did a review for that will be coming out on Tuesday, and then we're going to start watching Peaky Blinders in addition to our regularly scheduled movie reviews. So still got a lot of content coming out for you guys, but I want to give a big shout-out to Mephisto Upukdat, the Astro Nerd Boy, Mexican Iron Man, Major Chai Chai, Shorty Short, Aaron Charman, Darth Maul's Lower Half, Old Man Rising, Jillian N, and I believe I forgot Kalichi Oki. Is that how you pronounce it again?
Kaliki Oki.
Kaliki Oki. Yes, I forgot to put you up, Kaliki. I'm very sorry about that on the screen. But guys, you guys, so generous. Thank you all so much. We're going to enjoy this Robber Baron Coke in your name. Thank you for helping us hit our goals, especially the Astro Nerd Boy for that hundo and Jillian N for helping us get those last couple of super chats to test out that goal.
Holy gifted subs today. Wow.
Yes, indeed. Like I think that breaks our record for gifted subs. Anyway, I also want to thank Gabe Eltaeb for being our special guest today. It's always a pleasure to have him on. And as always, guys, tune in next Saturday, same salty time, same salty channel for more Salty Saturdays. Until then, stay salty.